In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up Hyper-V VM disaster recovery to Azure. So this involves a couple of steps here. The first step that is prepare Azure. So first of all, we need to do some preparation on the Azure side. Then next, we need to prepare on-premises Hyper-V server. Then next, we set up replication for Hyper-V VMs and run a disaster recovery drill. And then we will test failover to the Azure. All right. So let's start. So in the first step, that is prepare Azure, there are four steps involved. First is verify that your Azure account has replication permissions, the account that we are going to use. Then create an Azure storage account which store images of the replica machines. And then the next is we need to create a recovery services vault. And once this is done, the last step that we need to set up is we need to set up an Azure network where Azure VMs are created after failover and they will join this network. So now, first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a resource group. So first, I'm going to create a resource group. So let's do this. So I clicked on resource group and then now I'm going to create a new resource group here. So let me create it and then we will continue from there. So I created a resource group as you can see here. Now we are going to create a storage account and we will create that storage account under this resource group. So I'm back on the home page and from here I'm going to click on storage accounts, or what you can do is you can click on this here and then from all services you can click storage accounts, or you can find storage accounts in this blade here as well. So now um, as I do not have any storage account here, I'm going to create a new storage account to be used for our site recovery services. So I'm going to create one and then we will continue from there. So this is what I did. One thing that you need to make sure is the name of the storage account need to be unique and it only takes it in lowercase. So you cannot have a combination of upper and lowercase here, and you cannot use special character. So it can be only number or letters, and letters need to be in lowercase. Rest you can select based on your uh, requirements and then click on review and create. Next, it is going to deploy it and will take some time. So I'm going to continue once this is complete. One thing that I recommend is once the storage is created, go to the storage and from the configuration section, please disable allow blob public access. We really do not need any kind of public access to this blob, to the blobs in this storage account. So for security reasons, it is a best practice to disable the blob public access if you do not need it. And definitely in this case, I'm not going to need it, so I'm going to disable it. So once you are done with the storage account, the next step is to create a recovery services vault. So now I'm going to create a new recovery services vault here. So for that, you from the home page, you can just type recovery and you will be able to go to the recovery services vault, and from here you can create a new recovery service vault. So let me create this and finish it off and then we will continue from there. So when you create it, it will ask you for a couple of details. Just fill in those details and then click on review and create. And now I'm going to create it. So let it finish and then we will continue on our next step. So now we have the recovery services vault created, and the next step that we need to do is from the steps here, the last one under preparation is set up an Azure network. So we are going to create a network now. So we are going to select virtual network here And then now we are going to create a new virtual network. And also you need to make sure that this virtual network in the same resource group and also in the same region under which you created the storage account and the recovery services vault. So just name it, and once this is done, then we will move to the next step. So the next step is to prepare the on-premise Hyper-V server, and these are the steps involved. So we are going to verify on-premise server requirements, then check the requirements of the VMs we want to replicate to Azure, and make sure the Hyper-V host networking and the host and guest storage supports the Hyper-V host. And also, these are the rest of the two steps which need to be checked before we can set up the replication between the Hyper-V and the Azure. So I'm going to put this link in the description. You can look at most of these requirements and what is supported and what is not supported at this link. I'm not going to uh, deep dive in the requirements or what is supported and what is not supported. Um, Microsoft has covered it in detail on this link, so I'm going to post it in the description and you can just review it and go through it. So now we are going to set up the replication here. So for that, first of all, we are going to go into the replication recovery services vault. And then from recovery services vault, what we are going to do is we are going to prepare the vault. So once you are into the recovery service vault that we created, click on getting started under site recovery. And then because we are going to replicate machines from Hyper-V, so I'm going to select this one, Hyper-V machines to Azure. And then we are going to click on prepare replication. So now in this wizard, it is going to ask you a couple of questions here. So deployment planning, yes, I have done it. Now I'm going to click on next. So in my case, I'm not using System Center VMM to manage host. So I'm going to select no. And I need to create a Hyper-V site here. So right now I did not create any. So I'm going to create a new one and I'm going to name it. You can name it anything that is relevant to you. So once you have created the site, it is going to tell you that it could not find any Hyper-V servers in here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on add Hyper-V server. So when you click on add Hyper-V server, it's going to give you the steps that you need to follow. So this is what you need to follow. First of all, you need to make sure that your Hyper-V host must be running Windows Server 2012 R2 or higher with all the updates. And if you are using proxy settings, you should know that how to set up proxy settings. Then you need to install the Microsoft Azure Site Recovery Provider. And you also need these keys to register the Microsoft Azure Site Recovery Provider. So one thing that I would like to um, tell here is this is the step that you need to follow to add a standalone Hyper-V installer. But also, if you do have a cluster, then it does support the clustered host as well. The requirement for clustered host is that you need to install it on every host that is part of the cluster, and all of these hosts must be part of the same Hyper-V site. So in this case, um, I do have a two node cluster. So I'm going to install the Microsoft Azure Site Recovery Provider on both the Hyper-V hosts in the cluster, and I'm going to keep them in the same Hyper-V site that I created here. So let me finish this off and then we will continue further. So I downloaded the agent and install it, and now it is installed. Once the installation is complete, it is going to ask you to register it. So I'm going to click on register, and I have already downloaded the key. So now it is going to ask me for the key. So when you click on register, it is going to ask you to select the key file. So I selected the key file here, and once you're done, just click on next, and then it is going to ask you if you do have a proxy server. In my case, I'm not using a proxy server, so I'm going to select the direct connection here, and then click on next, and okay, looks like I did register it earlier. So I'm going to unregister it, and but this is how you actually going to register a Hyper-V host. So let me do this, and we will then continue further. So I was able to find the vault where I registered it earlier. So I went into the vault, and then I did. So let me show you what I did. So now this is the vault. So I get in here, and then I did click on site recovery infrastructure. And under site recovery infrastructure, you can find the Hyper-V host and the Hyper-V sites. So then I did go to the Hyper-V host. I was able to see the host here. I selected the host and I deleted the host. Once the host was deleted, I deleted the Hyper-V site as well. And then I did wait for like 10 minutes, and I was still not able to register the agent. So what I had to do was I actually had to use this script, and um, I copied this script in a in Notepad window and saved it as a .ps1 file. And then I did run it. And when I did run it, it asked me if I want to remove the old Azure Site Recovery Provider related properties. And I did select yes. And it restarted the service and deleted all the registry keys, certificates, and everything. Once I did it, I was able to proceed with registration to the new site. So just a small glitch that I came across, and something that I wanted to share. So let me finish this off, and then once this is done on both the host, I will continue further. So now I have added the servers here in this prepared infrastructure wizard, and then it actually asked me to create a replication policy. I did select the default values and I did continue. So it's just associating the replication policy with this Hyper-V site. So once this is done, we will further move next, and we'll proceed in completing the replication. All right, so now this is complete, and I am going to finish this off, and I'm going to click on prepare. So now this is going to take some time, and we are going to now proceed further. Now we are going to enable replication for the virtual machines which are running on Hyper-V. So for that, from the site recovery page, I'm going to select on enable replication, and then source location is going to be the Hyper-V site, and we only have one Hyper-V site here. Then the target is going to be the uh, storage account that we created, and we are going to select the network here. We only have one network and one subnet in that network. And then going to select next here. And moving on now, it is going to show you all the VMs that are running in your Hyper-V environment. Now you can select the VMs here. So because I have a lot of VMs running here, so I can search as well. So I need to enable replication for two of the VMs. One is this, and the second one is this one. So I selected these two VMs. Now I'm going to click on next, and in next it is going to ask you some more settings for replication. So in this case, it is going to ask you to select the OS type. So in my case, it is going to be Windows Server. And then it is going to ask you which one is the OS disk. It automatically detects the disk that are connected to the VM. So in my case, this is the OS disk, and I want to replicate both of the disks here. And same thing, I'm going to do it for the second VM, and I'm going to select the OS disk here, and I want to replicate both of the disks here. Once this is done, I'm going to click on next. And we only have one replication policy here. So I'm going to select the replication policy, and then I'm going to finish it off and select enable replication. So I enabled the replication, and now the replication setup is in progress. To see the replication as progress, the job progress basically, you can click on site recovery jobs here, and as you can see, I have two jobs running in here. And by clicking on the jobs further, you can see the progress of the various stages that are involved. So it is going to take some time. So I'm just going to wait for it to complete, and then we will move on to the next step. All right, so initial jobs are now completed, and we can see the status of the replicated VMs under the replicated items here. So as you can see, it is showing healthy, and we cannot test it for the failover until the synchronization is complete. So we are just going to complete this, we are just going to wait to complete this, and then once this is completed, what we are going to do is we are going to do a failover drill. So I'm just going to let it finish. It may take a couple of hours. So once this is finished, I will continue doing the failover drill. All right. All right. So now we have the replication completed, and now we are going to do a failover drill. So while I'm in the vault, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be at the replicated items. And as you can see, I actually already have started a test failover. But what you have to do is you just have to click on this, and you need to click on test failover. It is going to take somewhere anywhere between 8 to 10 minutes. And these are the steps involved, as you can see here. Um, so when you start, it actually first of all check the prerequisite, then it start failover, and then create a virtual machine, and then start the virtual machine. This whole process takes around 10 minutes. Once that is done, you will be able to see the two machines here. In my case, these are two machines, but in your case, all the machines that you do failover will appear once the test failover is done. And now you can click on these machines. You can find the IP. I actually assigned a public IP to this machine because I wanted to test if my application is working fine from the server or not. So I was able to test the application, and in my case, the application is running fine. So now our test failover is complete. We would like to just complete this test failover so that the application resumes, and we are good to go. So that's how you do set up a site recovery plan, basically using Hyper-V and Azure. So that's pretty much all of it. So I'm going to stop these virtual machines to take them down, and then stop this test failover, basically complete this test failover. So I'm going to stop it. I don't want to reserve public IP. And I'm going to do the same thing with the other machine. I'm going to stop it. So once these are stopped, we will complete the test failover migration. All right, so now we have both the virtual machines stopped. Now we are going to complete the test failover. So for that, I'm back into the vault, clicked on replicated items, and as you can see, it is showing cleanup test failover pending for both the machines. So I'm going to do it one by one. So once I'm in here, I'm going to click on cleanup test failover. All right, so for me, testing is complete, and I don't want this virtual machine to be up and running because I don't want to incur cost. And I'm going to do the same thing for the other one. All right, so the cleanup is done, and now it's back to healthy status, and also showing that failover readiness is good. There are no issues, and showing the last successful test failover. So with this, we are done with this tutorial. Thank you.